Thank you for all for joining the Transportation Breakout Room. My name is Chris Stanford with Michael Baker. Thank you all again for participating in the comp plan meeting tonight. I'd like to first introduce our speakers tonight. They will be Tracy Oskovich, Director of Development for the LVPC, and Samantha Smith, the Chief Community Planner for LVPC. Just a quick reminder, if you have any questions during the presentation, you're more than welcome to put them into the chat, and we'll try to address them as we go or after the meeting and get back to you on them. And we also have a live polling exercise we're going to do first before we get too far into the presentation. So without further ado, let's move on to our presentation and get started. So we have sort of an interactive exercise here for everyone to participate. Hopefully you have the ability to get on a smartphone and go to www.menti.com, menti.com, or open up a browser and go to that same web address. Just gonna follow along as well, just so we have the timing right here. And bear with me 1 second while I switch over to that location as well. And we're going to go to, let's see here, where's my share? There we go. And hopefully everyone can see the question that's on the screen right now if you're at menti.com, and there's a code at the very top of the screen. So if you were to plug in that code 79545797, hopefully you'll see this question and be able to give us a word that you would use to describe transportation today in South Whitehall Township. Good, I'm glad some folks are going to the site and able to make it work. Looks like we're getting some more input here. Pass through, that's an interesting one. And you can see here, we'll get a word cloud that sort of gives us some information on what folks believe is going on in South Whitehall. The larger the word, the more times we're seeing that word input into the model here. So we'll just give it another minute, and then we'll move on to the rest of the presentation. Great, thank you for your participation there. And we will move on to the PowerPoint. Now we're going to hear from Tracy and Samantha.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
I think right now we just see you. Oh, I think it's loading.
Okay.
Well, welcome everyone to the transportation session. I'm Tracy Oskovich, Director of Development for Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. I'm joined this evening by Samantha Smith, Chief Community Planner. The image that you see right now is one of the most appropriate inspirational images from Future LV, the regional plan, for a conversation about your transportation network. First, it's showing one of your own corridors in South Whitehall and is something we borrowed from you to use as an example region-wide. It demonstrates the interrelationships between pedestrians, cyclists, transit, automobiles, green infrastructure, community and economic development, and local culture. The balance of these things is critical to the township's success and also our region's. The power of the comprehensive plan is that it captures the values and visions of the community and then develops policies and actions around them. The comprehensive plan is the playbook that led an ordinance and map changes and programmatic growth to support implementation as well. Nope, next slide.
Oh, come on, computer. Bear with me 1 second here.
Okay, thank you, Chris. The future LV General Land Use Plan shows areas recommended for development in gray, farmland preservation in green, preservation buffer, and ex-urban. The LVPC uses this plan as an integral component of new development review. Development areas, shown in gray again, have most or all of the factors needed to support growth, such as sewer and transportation capacity, and are capable of accommodating additional growth. Preservation buffer areas may have factors present that support additional development. Farmland preservation areas, those that are in green, are most appropriately used for agricultural and related uses, as well as limited low-density residential uses. The most appropriate future land use for these areas should be based on a planning analysis of defined development criteria. When it comes to development, access to adequate transportation infrastructure is a necessity. Generally, South Whitehall Township also has good access to the backbone of the Lehigh Valley's transportation network with identified corridors running through the township. Those are the darker gray lines through the map.
You can switch it, Chris. So transportation is such an essential component of the region's comprehensive plan that Future LV spends an entire goal focused on it. A seamless network where roads, trails, sidewalks, and technology connect everyone to every place. That's the goal. To reach this potential, we must design a transportation system that is welcoming to drivers, walkers, rollers, regardless of age, income, or ability. Our network of the future will provide transportation options that will connect work, home, and places where people want to go, both within South Whitehall Township and regionally. Compact, walkable, bikeable, and safe neighborhoods improve job accessibility and enable people to spend less time in a car. Investing in existing roads, bridges, transit, and utilities while using next generation technology to manage freight traffic will create a dynamic system that improves the flow of goods, services, and people. Next.
Apologize 1 second.
As we think about the future of the township's transportation network and what mixed transportation means, we should keep in mind improvements such as bike lanes, a connected sidewalk network, and transit service amenities, all of which expand transportation options and move people around the township and region efficiently. This new infrastructure can be supported by planning for the decline of in-store shopping and repurposing currently developed land for new housing and mixed-use development, a transformation that's key to maintaining and growing the economy. As the use of land gets repurposed, so can the transportation infrastructure be reused and improved to include amenities like these. Ensuring the future of the transportation network vision is included in the comprehensive plan. Next slide.
The comprehensive plan moves from goal to further into transportation with policies and actions to further inform how the valley needs to evolve and remain sustainable. Each policy, including these two, is tied to the plan themes as we discussed in the intro of this workshop this evening. Within the policies are actions which are even more detailed. As we discuss transportation, you'll hear many of these actions. As you can already tell, mixed-use transportation is primary and fundamental component of long-term success of the transportation network regionally and locally. After all, municipal development criteria directly informs transportation investment by the private sector. It reduces costs to the public and informs and shapes the corridors and infrastructure. Mixed transportation focuses on accommodating the pedestrian, bicycle, public transit rider, while also ensuring the driver's accessibility is retained. Existing corridors, such as North Cedar Crest Boulevard, can easily be tailored to include all modes of transportation. The future of the Lehigh Valley is built around centers and corridors. Centers are existing active economic districts near residential neighborhoods that are interconnected by busy roads, trails, and transit corridors. This network already makes up the economic and transportation backbone of the region and offers the best and most sustainable opportunity for meeting the future needs of our community. By concentrating future development in these areas, the shift in development will help meet growing demand for housing while relieving development pressure on our remaining farms and open space. The resulting density will increase the activity and vibrancy in communities like South Whitehall Township, while strengthening our mixed-use transportation system in a way that makes it more usable for pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers. Not all centers and corridors are the same. Some are older or larger, while others have more people and traffic. To help these areas reach their potential, centers and corridors have been divided up into categories: centers by age and development pattern, and corridors by mix of transportation types and how many people they move. These different categories can ensure the right policies are focused in the right areas, helping the Lehigh Valley grow into a more sustainable future with greater options for transportation. So now I would like to show you, and you can switch to the next slide. We have an interactive map online, our Future LV Transportation Plan, that shows the Valley's major transportation infrastructure by including these roadways. It demonstrates opportunities for creating denser mixed-use transit-supported development surrounding them. So I'm going to show you the map. I'm going to move online right now. Chris, if I could have the power of sharing. Okay, great. And share with you our map, which I have already zoomed in to South Whitehall Township. You can find this map at lvpc.org. And if you go there, you can navigate to Future LV, the regional plan, and visit Goal 2. Scroll down a little bit, and you'll click on a button that says Interactive Map. I also have the link in the presentation, which Chris, you can tell me later if that's going to be shared. I encourage you to visit our online map and really see how South Whitehall connects to the other communities in the Lehigh Valley. You can search by municipality at the top here. I'm going to move my cursor over where I'm talking about. So right now you can see I have it filtered to South Whitehall Township. The legend can be found right here with this group of dots and lines. It looks like a little bulleted list here, and this is what it looks like when it's open. And you can click layers on and off. So if I click on this one, you can turn on and off different layers. Right now I have them all on because I just wanted to show you what this looks like for South Whitehall Township. Included in these regional corridors and centers are buffer areas along with congested corridors, Lanta routes, and greenways. South Whitehall has several post-war centers identified in Future LV. They're shown on this map as the blue dots. They include Crest Plaza Shopping Center on Cedar Crest Boulevard by Walbert and Route 22, the Dorneyville along Hamilton Boulevard, and then also the Crossroads area by Tillman Street, Broadway, and Centronia roads. The township also has a few regional highway corridors, which are these major ones that you see right here, and several major corridors. And we'll get into the definitions of what exactly those mean in the next slide. LVPC uses this transportation plan to guide transportation network improvements, as well as it's an integral component of development review through encouraging projects that expand, improve, or connect the mixed transportation network. Utilizing maintenance and improvement of existing transportation infrastructure, or corridors in this case, is a win-win because the infrastructure already exists and there's an inherent cost savings to maintain and improve versus building new. And Chris, you can have the screen back.
All right, thank you. And let's see, we'll switch back to you guys see that okay?
Yeah, you can go to the next slide.
Next slide.
Typically, development, higher density and intensity for both residential and non-residential uses can be accommodated along major corridors, which are also existing. These corridors are also frequently serviced by Lanta Transit, South Whitehall Township has various corridors, including I-476, Route 22, Route 309, Hamilton Boulevard, Walbert Avenue, Tillman Street, and North Cedar Crest Boulevard. Can you advance to the next slide, Chris? Corridors fall into one of four categories. I-476, 22, and 309 near 22 are regional highways. They move people and goods long distances and typically at a relatively high rate of speed. 22 carries over 100,000 vehicles a day between Cedar Crest Boulevard and 15th Street. 309 carries over 50,000 vehicles a day between 22 and Tillman Street. Finally, between 22 and 309, the Turnpike carries 47,653 vehicles daily. Route 309 north of Walbert Avenue, Hamilton Boulevard, Walbert Avenue, North Cedar Crest Boulevard, and Tillman Street near 309 are roadways that move people between centers, designated as corridors, and carry a moderate amount of traffic.
I caught up to you guys yet or not?
We're not seeing the presentation, we're seeing you.
Okay, hold on a second.
Okay.
Let's try this. Getting a little bit of lag here from the
There we go, that's our slide.
PowerPoint. All right, hold on one second, and I will try to share from the current slide. Is that where? How's that?
There you go.
Apologize.
So Hamilton Boulevard carries over 33,000 vehicles a day between 309 and the 309-78 interchange and Lincoln Avenue. Walbert Avenue carries 11,463 vehicles a day between Ridgeview Drive and Springhouse Road. North Cedar Crest Boulevard carries over 16,000 vehicles a day between 22 and Walbert. Tillman Street carries 27,261 vehicles a day between 309 and Parkway Road. And then a noted major corridor in South Whitehall, Mock Chunk Road between Custer Street and Girard Avenue carries 13,748 vehicles daily. On the screen is definitions of corridors and what they mean. So this is to help provide context for the transportation network in South Whitehall. Finally, the Jordan Creek Greenway is a different type of corridor. It's a commuter trail, which is a high accessible means of moving people between centers and scenic resources. South Whitehall Township's future extensions of the Greenway will serve this need. And while it's not in your township, it's worth mentioning that Macarthur Road in nearby Whitehall Township is a high-frequency bus corridor. This is a designated location for future enhanced bus rapid transit, or BRT you may have heard of, where development patterns in coming years must be reflective of density needed to support this type of transit. South Whitehall's transit routes will connect into and be served by the high-frequency bus service, moving people between major regional centers. The purpose, volume, and types of transit users and ultimately investment should be right-sized to achieve the outcomes you want to see. If you want to preserve farmland, do not expand the roadways in these areas. If you want to improve safety and reduce congestion around mixed-use centers like Cedar Crest and Walbert Avenue, invest there in things like adaptive traffic signals that learn traffic patterns and adjust based on day of the week and time of day, enhance pedestrian and cycling accommodations, and so forth. Right-size them and prioritize them, again, to achieve what your plan outlines as its goals. Next slide. We mentioned Macarthur Road in Whitehall as a regional corridor. These wide existing corridors can be improved as redevelopment occurs. This cross-section of Macarthur Road provides a vision for how lanes can be converted for use safe by pedestrians and bicyclists and improve efficiency of transit. So another win-win in transportation is improving transit service. As the service becomes more convenient and amenities are improved at stop locations, transit ridership increases. As ridership increases, the pressure on single occupancy passenger vehicles is reduced. By redesigning the road to focus on people and a mix of transportation options, we can create a road that moves more people while being safe and attractive for walkers, bikers, rollers, and public transit users. While this is an example in Whitehall, the point is that you can revision how you use the transportation space that you have to make it safer, achieve mobility and transportation options, and even manage stormwater through green infrastructure. Next slide.
So now let's focus on regional commuter trails when considering transportation. These transportation components are necessary to consider in South Whitehall Township to take advantage of the region's beauty in its trails. A continued commitment to full development of the Jordan Creek Greenway Trail offers a unique opportunity to the township. Did you know that the Jordan Creek Greenway will connect to the DNL once the regional commuter corridor plan is achieved? That will support an alternative to driving to population and job centers throughout the larger region. This is critically important to supporting the growth in the region's population, supporting public health, increasing prioritization of natural asset preservation, and reducing gridlock in the transportation system. Next slide. In 2019, the adoption of Future LV, we merged the long-range transportation plan and our bi-county comprehensive plan to strengthen the interrelationships between community, economy, environment, housing, education, infrastructure, parks, recreation, and all the aspects that make a successful society. Enhancing transit and pedestrian bicycle facilities on existing corridors to strengthen the mixed transportation network and connections within the region will support the longevity of the township's existing transportation network. Maintaining existing transportation infrastructure of both municipal and state roads ensures fiscal resources are most responsibly utilized. We've touched on this concept already a couple of times. How can we reimagine existing corridors so that we get more bang for the buck in South Whitehall Township? It's imperative to mention that the Lehigh Valley's location at the heart of nearly 100 million potential consumers has made it one of the world's fastest growing corridors for the movement of freight. As you heard Becky Bradley mention in the intro to this workshop this evening, the nation's appetite for online shopping and the need to get those goods within 2 days grows, and the amount of goods moving through the region grows. We've got to locate freight facilities in areas with available and planned transportation capacity, designate truck routes, and improve rail and highway grade crossings. As we think about the future of transportation in South Whitehall Township, keeping freight related improvements like these in perspective is inherent to our ability to manage freight and warehousing into the next decade so that we can maintain the township's quality of life. That said, we can't let freight dominate the entire transportation conversation. Next slide.
Future LV provides examples of how post-war centers can be revitalized. One specific center type is called post-war centers, are good places for new mixed-use development because they're centrally located and connect to transportation. Many of these areas are changing as the retail economy evolves, creating opportunities for new growth and development. These large sites can accommodate 2 to 6 story buildings with a mix of housing, business, public space, and recreation that support investment in bicycle, pedestrian, and transit infrastructure. Transforming declining malls and shopping centers helps stabilize the tax base by recapturing existing infrastructure investments while meeting new market demands for apartments, recreational facilities, and smaller commercial spaces. But these aren't the only locations where transitional development can be accommodated. The former Econo Lodge in South Whitehall Township is a prime example. As formerly thriving but now vacant properties are reimagined, what should they look like? Consider the transportation infrastructure around them, what improvements redevelopment might add to the transportation network, and the relationship of new uses at the site with their transportation needs and the needs of the township. The former Econo Lodge site is immediately adjacent to Route 22, a regional highway corridor, and 309, a major corridor. Redevelopment of this property should be considered of the purpose of these corridors because of the relationship of transportation infrastructure and land use. Residential uses ingrained with non-residential uses support the viability of redevelopment, reduce greenfield impacts, and sustain current transportation infrastructure. Next slide. As you are aware, the need for the community to guide the development of new township goals and policies is critical. I hope you will join us again for the Transportation Working Group to roll up our sleeves together to chart a path forward. To join the Transportation Working Group, go to www.swtcompplan.org. Thank you.
Okay, just to wrap up our session here, we'd like you to go back to the menti.com website again and tell us a word that you would describe for transportation in South Whitehall in the next 10 years. So I will bring that up again. See if I can make that work. Stop sharing this guy, I apologize. And we will share. This one. So again, if you go to menti.com and enter the code 79545797 and make your entry, we'd appreciate it. And again, the number is 79545797 on menti.com. All right, well, thank you very much for participating. Oh, we have a couple more comments coming in. In the light of saving time here, we're going to move on to our next session here. So thank you very much. If you're interested in moving on to the next breakout session, I would direct you to the chat box, and you can see all the links there at the very top of the chat box for all the different breakout sessions that are available. Thank you very much.